members, we are back from our break, and it is now 12:59. So we'd like to take an item out of order now, and that is item 19. We'd like to go to, and then we'll return to the earlier items within the executive director's report. And this will be presented by Mr. Angelo.
Thank you, Chair Lieber and members. Appreciate the accommodation. I don't have a long report today, but as I mentioned in January, the deadline for legislation to be introduced was February 20th, so things are really starting to get rolling. So, good afternoon. I'm the Legislative Director, Ted Angelo, Legislative Director and Chief of the Legislative Research and Statistics Division. Today, I'll provide a brief update on legislative activity for February as things begin to get moving in the second year of the 25-26 legislative session. The legislature acted on a number of two-year bills prior to the House of Origin deadline at the end of January. I went over those last month briefly and during some of our discussions. SCA 4 and its board-supported companion bill, SB 623, passed over to the Assembly. These bills, and if approved by the voters, would allow the combining of veterans and homeowners exemptions. So you're all aware of those, the board members. And the Senate also amended and passed SB 288, which we've discussed as well, which proposes giving people in probate more time to transfer the base year property values under Prop 19. The updated BOE analysis was recently posted and forwarded to you last Friday, so you have that. Second, we expect the legislative proposal approved by the board in December to extend the sunset date governing pipeline rights-of-way in Rev and Tax Code Section 401.10 to be introduced in the Senate Rev and Tax Committee bill later this month or early in March, depending on when they introduce their committee bills. Regarding this new session in 2026, my office has forwarded a number of new BOE-related bills to you over the last few weeks. We are combing through the rest of the bills introduced at the 220 deadline when a lot of them dropped down, and we'll be forwarding those to you soon. So far, some of the new introductions of note affecting BOE include AB 1971 Bennett, which is the home hardening proposal, which would exclude certain home hardening efforts from property tax. I'm not going to go into details of those today. They weren't necessarily on my my online summary because they were introduced after it was posted. So various reasons, I'm not going to go into great detail. I'm just giving you a heads up on the bills that we're taking a look at and we'll be analyzing and sending to you. AB 2022 Gonzalez is a property tax disabled veterans new exemption concept. It would exempt from taxation property owned that constitutes the principal residence of a veteran spouse, or veteran and the veteran. So it's a new veterans deduction proposal separate from what we were just talking about with the SCA and the accompanying bill. Where that combined them, this would be a complete exemption for a household with certain conditions. Obviously, it would be an expensive proposal, but I haven't gone through to see if there's certain age limitations or if it's just all veterans. AB 20, let me double check on this one. AB 2172 is the Property Tax Assessment Appeals Board, and I know we're going to be talking about that tomorrow. That is an alternative, and that's by Assembly Rev and Tax Chair Gibson is carrying that bill, and it's an alternative to appointing a 3-member assessment appeals board pursuant to sub A, and it would be a 5-year, almost like a pilot program, but it has a 5-year run as they've done in those committees to try to limit, number one, costs and new programs. They used to call them pilot projects, but you have to be careful using that because of uniformity in tax administration. But it's a 5-year sunset, and it would allow for a one county to have one commissioner instead of the 3 appointed board of supervisors. I'm not going to go into the details of it. There's a lot of protections in there, qualifications for the commissioner in lieu of be a certified commercial investment member at all. SB 974 is a Sayardo bill that is special needs trust statutory concept for severely disabled. We're taking a look at that one. SB 996 Padilla is a manufactured housing classified as real property issue. It probably won't have much of a taxation difference based on how they're classified, but we're taking a look at that. SB 1415 Araguin and Wiener is similar to a bill from last year, SB 336. And so SB 1415 is a moderate income housing partial tax exclusion. That was similar to SB 336 from last year that was held on suspense in, I believe, appropriations. There was one more bill that, for some reason, I can't read the number. I think it's SB 2089, property tax welfare exemptions, change in control or ownership for existing tax exempt nonprofits. So there's a statute that was either last year or the year before that allowed nonprofits to waive penalties and not pay up front. And now if they change ownerships during that process, they have to go through it again and they're assessed, and they're trying to get a carve out for that. And it's Assemblymember Ward is looking at that. So again, we'll take a closer look at that. And so far, those are the key ones. I'm not going to go into insurance or wine and alcohol taxation issues right now. But as always, my office will continue to keep you updated with the weekly status reports and copies of the analyses. And this concludes my report, and I'm free to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, super. Any questions, Mr. Schaefer?
Yeah, Ted, a lot of these bills, like ending street homelessness act and whatnot, don't really impact us that much. But there are some bills that impact us a lot more than others. I might like to meet the legislator involved on any of these bills, if he or she might like to make a little pitch to us to be in support of or not in support of. If any of them would, be open to appearing before us as your guest, I just want you to know I would favor an opportunity for some interaction. It's much easier for them to drop by our meeting than for us to wander through the Capitol and try to find them.
Correct. And for those that are staff that's watching or those that might be watching, that's an open invite. But those types of things generally go through the executive director, and they schedule times to come in and speak to bills that you may have a position on, have already taken a position on, or might be willing to take a position on. We did that last year, so that's an open invitation
Well,
to do that.
I consider all of them celebrities, and it'd be a chance for them to just be introduced, I know some of them, but I don't know the ones outside San Diego area, and I don't think I'll ever meet them because we're in different parts of town. And
Right.
if they're passionate about something, I'd like to have them share that passion.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Mr. Vasquez?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Angelo. On your presentation, I don't know if you touched on it, but I know AB 1485, which is the bill for tribal lands. I was just wondering and talking to some of the tribes, I know some of the smaller ones are looking to build outside the reservation, which means they wouldn't be exempt. Is there a bill that's going to address that issue, do you know?
Well, 1485, and I didn't talk about it today, that bill was recently signed by the governor, and I updated all the board members. That was a strange bill that was held on the floor last year at the end of session. So it was a 2-year bill, but it already passed and was on consent and was awaiting a final motion on the floor. They didn't move it, and it was a 2-year bill, and they moved it to the governor, and he signed it. So this is the bill that we analyzed and sent it to you last year that allowed for open space land to be given back to tribes. In terms of your question, I wouldn't know the answer to that in terms of those that there is a format in 1485 that says what they must use the land for in order for it to continue to be tax exempt. So if they're going to use it for other revenue-generating purposes that don't meet those standards, it would not qualify. And that's even within the land, not outside of the tribal land or the open space land that was given back to the tribes that they qualify for.
And then the other one, and it maybe just got introduced, it's a fairly new one, SB 1352, and I understand there should be one on the assembly side as well. I don't know what the number of that one might be, but this is one to help a lot of the fire victims. And not only in my district, but eventually it would help any folks that have been victimized by one of these wildfires. Because right now, in talking to my assessor, Prang, they're only allowed to build exact footprint. Even though he and some of the assessors have been a little bit lenient and allowing them to go like to 110% of the existing footprint. They want to, I guess, codify that and make sure it's in the law, or they actually have the authority to do that without any possible penalties on the rebuild. So we can keep an eye on that one.
We'll keep an eye on that. There was a bill that covered it was kind of codifying what was already understood. It was one of the fire reparation bills from last year. If it wasn't, I don't want to speak to it, but I know that there was a component in that allowed for the rebuilds up to what was allowed in the local code, but not beyond that.
Right.
Mr. Young would know that as well, but not today because weren't prepared to talk about that one. But I'll look at 1352 and any others that might be proposing that.
But you're right. There was a bill and it never made it out for what, I'm not sure what happened.
Okay.
So you're right. So they're bringing it back. I don't know what other changes they might have made on it. But I think the key thing for us is, or at least what I'm looking at is that they have some leadway. You know, it's like a 10%.
Right.
So it'd be 110%. And just wanted to bring it to the attention to our chair as well, because if that is moving forward, I'd like to see we could agendize it, and hopefully there's support from this board to support that as well. Thank you.
And as a caveat, I didn't include all of the bills that were introduced because there's a lot of what they call spot bills. And I know I've explained it before, but last time when I went through all the bills that were introduced that were in our jurisdiction, it took a really long time. So I tried to curtail a little bit. And there's some spot bills that deal with the revenue tax code in our jurisdiction, but they don't make a substantive change as of yet, but they will likely pursue something like what you were talking about. So
No,
there'll be
that's why I wanted
others
to
as
bring
well.
this one up, because this one
Yeah.
looks like it's got legs, and I think it's going to have a real impact for these fire victim folks.
We'll keep an eye out. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Angelo? Okay, seeing none, I think we're set.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Now, I'd like to go back to item 14, which is the Chief Counsel Quarterly Report. If we may, Mr. Moon?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm Richard Boone, Chief Counsel, and I will be giving you a very brief update and report on the legal activities, legal department's activities over Q4 2025. As you can tell from the attachment to the PAN, and as you know, the biggest sort of activity that we've been involved in the fourth quarter were the appeals, which with today's board's decisions on the Section 40s, is now done. So we are done for 2025, and we will soon begin to help state assessed with 2026 coming up. As appeals are done, we are now going to focus our attention more on some of the technical advice questions that we've received. So we'll be refocusing on those, and we will be focused on especially regulations. There's a number of cleanup type regulations that we need to do that we will be focused on. And then the final thing that we'll be working on is hiring. We have 2 open positions that are being advertised right now. And hopefully we will find some good candidates for those 2 positions soon. So I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
Super. Mr. Vasquez?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just real quick, on your PRA request, I was just wondering, you indicate that you've completed like 54 PR requests in, I guess, the fourth quarter. Is that the fourth quarter?
Yes, fourth quarter.
And that there were no new ones pending in this first quarter.
Yeah, so,
And I'm just wondering, does the PR request vary throughout the year? And I'm assuming maybe being this an election year, you might get more than normal.
yeah, it's possible, but there's no sort of season for PRA requests. They're just, they come when they come.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, other questions, Mr. Gaines?
If I could, just on the two positions that we're trying to fill, are those difficult positions to fill?
So one is an attorney position, which is the entry-level position. One is an
Okay.
attorney 3 position. We have been trying to hire for some time. So we have found it a bit difficult. We've made some offers which have not been accepted. And so that's why we're continuing to put the advertisements out.
Okay, all right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moon. Now we'll go to item 15, Communications Chief's Quarterly Report. And Ms. Renati will start us out.
Good afternoon, Chair Lieber and honorable members. I'm Lisa Renati, Chief Deputy Director, and it's my pleasure to let you know that we have filled the Chief Communications Officer position with, probably right behind me, Mr. John Taylor. And so I'm going to use this time to have Mr. Taylor introduce himself to the board.
Fantastic, thank you.
Good afternoon, John Taylor, Chief Communications Officer. Chair Lieber, honorable members, I had the pleasure of meeting Chair Lieber and Vice Chair Gaines yesterday, as well as Deputy Controller Imran. It's an equal honor today, Mr. Schaefer, to meet you, as well as you, Mr. Vasquez. So very much looking forward to getting up to speed and contributing to the important mission of this board. As I talked with some folks yesterday, most recently I was at the Employment Development Department. I've got a relatively short career in public service, having joined the unemployment insurance program back in 2019. I was immediately thrust into implementing federal unemployment programs, and I did that through the last dollar of pandemic unemployment assistance, which was paid in 2022. From then, I went on to work in their public affairs team as their Chief of Strategic Communications. There, I assisted the EDD and their executive team through digital communications and other public outreach campaigns to help spread awareness about state benefit programs, particularly to California's diverse communities and often the hardest to reach amongst us. I am a plain language enthusiast. When I left the department, at least at that time, I had initiated a program that had trained a little bit more than 4,000 public servants on how to write and deliver easier to understand public communications, helping to make government services more accessible to all Californians. Certainly looking forward to work here with Executive Director Stowers and her committed team to get up to speed on all of the work that you've been doing and to see how I can best help to move those plans forward. So happy to answer any questions you have.
Fantastic. Well, I'd just like to first say welcome to
Thank
the BOE. We appreciate you having chosen us. So thank you very much. And Mr. Vasquez?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome on board. And I was just curious, given your experience, I'm assuming at some point you'll come back to us with some of your possible recommendations on what we need to do and maybe to take this to the next level. I mean, Peter, I think, was doing a real good job, especially on our website, and has made a lot of improvements, especially on the language piece. And I just don't know, it's probably a little premature to ask you about those questions now, but looking forward to working with you and having the opportunity to interact on, and to hear from you in terms of what possible recommendations as you look at our website and other communication material that we have already out in the mix. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Mr. Vasquez. There's a lot of techniques that we have and best practices to measure the effectiveness of public communications, and certainly over the website is one of those where analytics allow us to make data-driven decisions on how we prioritize and improve our content. Being able to optimize pages like the Proposition 19 page that was put into motion back in 2020. That page has seen 984,157 unique page views since that time. That's a little more than 140,000 more viewers than the last time we reported to you, with nearly 1 million page views since its inception. Demonstrates that it's meaningful content. There's a public appetite for that, and it's serving well.
And, since you bring up Prop 19, as you look at the website on Prop 19, I'd like to get your thoughts on what maybe we could do to grab people, because it seems like every time I bring it up at these resource fairs I've participated with my assessor, Jeff Prang, it just, so many people, one, don't understand what they even voted for, and then two, the implications it's gonna have for those that are sitting on 3 or 4 properties thinking that they were gonna be able to will it over to their kids. Thanks.
Mr. Gaines?
Yes, welcome, Mr. Taylor. Yeah, looking forward to you taking on this role at the BOE. And I think a focus that I think we've all been concerned about is, who is the BOE and what do they do? And so just our ability to communicate with our constituents would be very helpful. And we've been working with the legislature more closely, but I think even if there is a way for messaging on a fairly regular basis from the BOE to members of the legislature, I think that could be really helpful. And as we're supporting legislation too, I think that's a whole nother avenue in terms of, if we have agreement here and we're going to support a bill that's another opportunity to get the word out. And I don't know if that would be a press release or exactly what you would do or how you would do it, but I think the fact that we're engaged in legislation that we're seeing go through that's related to the BOE is good, because I think it puts us out there. And anything that you could do to try to raise the profile in terms of what we do, just so that people understand it. And I think that website has been very helpful. And Prop 19, well, it's been really tough to implement. And I'll speak for myself personally, did not support it, but we've got to implement it. It's law. So better we can communicate with our constituents in that regard. I don't see that it's not going away, right? I mean, we're still having people go on our website and try to figure that law out, and how does it impact them personally. I think we've tried to communicate with our county assessors on that, and I think they've done some things in terms of making their constituents aware of it. But I'm looking forward to your tenure here. Great, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Emron?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also would like to extend my congratulations to you. It was really nice seeing you yesterday at Caltex as well. So one-man shop for 40 million people. You have 5 members here, but the controller always tells me this is the most important piece, is communication to taxpayers, hardworking taxpayers at that. So looking forward to working together. I mean, I think yesterday, San Francisco Chronicle released a Prop 19 article, and those are just things, any type of news, maybe even if it doesn't quote any of us or talk about Board of Equalization, but anything that has to do in our wheelhouse, I'd love to just stay in the loop with that. And something we're also exploring at the State Controller's Office's webinars with property tax associations, and just a good way to get the word out virtually, having these workshops. But that'll be something I'd love to collaborate with you on. Thank you.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes, thank you. Your job is a very important part of our overall operations, and, it's glad to see that Mr. Kim has an able successor. I'd like to ask how many copies of, this book are issued. Are you aware?
At present, I'm not. No.
I think it's not very many, under 100. When Mr. Kim was involved in publications, we had a little small print identifying the photographs here. I recognize, of course, San Diego's scene, but I'm not sure which of the other ones I guess one is each of my colleagues, but if I were approving this communication, I would say Santa Monica Beach or something, or whatever is relevant to it. And there's opportunities also to maybe condense it. We have 7 pages here to just explain a profile of the office. And I would think you could do a very good profile with maybe 2 pages, or 3 pages. I'm always looking for efficiency. But again, if you're not producing very many of them, maybe it's not that big an economic issue. I would think that something like this could be sent out to all libraries within the
Excuse me,
state.
Mr. Schaefer, I think,
Excuse me, Member Schaefer, first, Mr. Taylor just got here, so he was not involved with that publication, but that item is on the agenda. So when we call that item, you could best have your remarks then, and
Oh,
we'll be responsive.
okay. He, of course, realizes that 3 of us will be gone in about 8 or 9 months, so,
Okay.
I will not be here to see this edition in 2027, so I wanted to make the most of 2026. Thank you.
We appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
thank you so much, Mr. Taylor. We are looking forward to working with you and appreciate you being there yesterday to get broken in a little bit, and look forward to working with you.
Great, thank you.
And I want to offer my thanks to Ms. Renati and everyone involved in the hiring process. I know that we have a very rigorous process, so thank you, and thanks to Ms. Renati. Thanks. Great, and we will go on to item 16, which is the Taxpayer Rights Advocate's Office, presented by Ms. Thompson.
So good afternoon, Chair Lieber and honorable board members. My name is Lisa Thompson, the Chief of the Taxpayer Rights Advocate Office. And today I'll be providing you with some statistics on the number of completed cases last month, as well as presenting to you the 24-25 Taxpayers Rights Advocates Annual Report for property taxes and the alcoholic beverage tax. With respect to last month's statistics for completed cases, our office completed 26. 7 were in Board Member Gaines's district, 7 in Board Member Lieber's district, and 7 in Board Member Vasquez's district, and 5 in Member Schaefer's district. As far as the composition of those cases, 12 were from the administrative category and 14 from the valuation category. The memo that is attached to the PAM does identify all of the topics within those numbers. However, the topic with the largest number of cases in the valuation category was exclusions from reassessment. And for the administrative category, the highest number was delinquent and defaulted taxes. So as part of this month's update, I'm pleased to present to you the 24-25 Taxpayers Rights Advocate Annual Report. Each of you have been provided 5 copies, and it is also posted to our website. This annual report is issued in accordance with the Morgan Property Taxpayer Bill of Rights under Revenue and Taxation Code Section 5904. The report highlights our office's accomplishments, examples, illustrating the services that our office provides to taxpayers in resolving the problems or issues. It also describes our office's involvement in educational projects to help taxpayers. As part of the report, there are various statistics on cases completed by the Taxpayer Rights Advocate Office, and there are several charts which identify the percentage of completed cases for each of the 4 equalization districts, the percentage for the valuation category versus administrative category, as well as percentages by topic within each of those categories. And during fiscal year 24-25, our office completed work on 406 cases. All were in the area of property taxes. Of those completed cases, 29% were from taxpayers in District 1, Member Gaines's district, 33% from District 2, Member Lieber's district, 18 from District 3, Member Vasquez's district, and 20% from District 4, Member Schaefer's district. 79% of those cases were in the valuation category, And with the highest number in changes in ownership, decline in value in new constructions, those are generally what those categories include. Change in ownership, decline in value, new construction, exclusions from reassessment, which are numerous, exemptions, and general property taxation. For 21%, they were in the administrative category, which includes topics such as delinquent or defaulted taxes, creating a mailing of tax bills, refunds, and penalties. As to the topic within the valuation category, that report provides a breakdown of into 8 topics. The largest percentage involved exclusions from reassessment at 39%, followed by change in ownership at 19%. As to the topic area within the administrative category, the report provides a breakdown into 6 topics. The largest percentage of cases were those in access to data and other for 31%, followed by penalties and penalty cancellations at 29%. There are also tables that break down the topics within the valuation category and administrative category by percentages of completed cases for each of your equalization districts. As far as taxpayers that we help, we contact them. We work with them through contacts by phone, through completion of a web intake form that sends us an email. It's easy to use for taxpayers because they can identify their contact information, the nature of their concerns, and everything that's needed basically for us to understand what the nature of their concern is so we can help resolve that problem. Your board member offices also forward taxpayers to us, constituents that have contacted your office directly, so we can assist them. The 2 primary functions of our office are to ensure fair and equitable treatment of taxpayers in the assessment and collection of property taxes, and to recommend changes in laws or procedures to ease taxpayer compliance. This annual report contains examples of cases to help illustrate how our office helps taxpayers and how we resolve them. Our office's role generally involves review and explanation of processes and laws and our agency's property tax rules or guidance, and contact with local county assessors' offices and tax collectors' offices to obtain information about the property and to help resolve these taxpayers' problems or concerns that they have with that local department. Sometimes a taxpayer generally just needs assistance and understanding what document needs to be provided to an assessor's office that could result in resolving their problem or accomplishing what they had, what they hope to resolve. And the other part is we provide as an independent party that ensures they were treated fairly according to the law. So there are examples included in this report and the types of cases that we received. So it explains how we help taxpayers. We highlighted 3 cases this year: a case concerning intergenerational transfers, commonly referred to as the parent-child exclusion; a case addressing transfers between registered domestic partners; and a case pertaining to a base year value transfer for a home that was destroyed by disaster. Many cases that our office worked on in fiscal year 2024-25 involved exclusions from reassessment, 39%. Specifically, transfers between parents and children, base year value transfers for seniors, base year value transfers for victims of disaster, as well as some less commonly occurring exclusion, such as a new construction exclusion. With respect to exclusions between parents and children, the annual report highlights an example where a taxpayer was granted prospective relief for the intergenerational transfer, and we were also able to direct her to resources that enabled her to enter into a payment plan to help cover those escape assessments that were issued resulting from that. In this case, 2 sisters inherited properties from their parents, and several years later, when they recorded grant deeds distributing the property from the trust, the properties were reassessed. They thought that because they inherited property from their mother and they were told by a legal representative that they had set up everything properly so it wouldn't be reassessed, they just weren't aware of it, and so they missed some filing obligations. Unfortunately, property tax law changed from the time that the trust was set up, such that both of those properties that their mom owned, was not qualifying. So only the principal residence property was able to qualify. So we explained the requirements of the parent-child exclusion under Proposition 19 and Revenue and Taxation Code Section 63.2, that a claim could still be filed for the exclusion from reassessment on the home that the mother lived in and that one of the children continued to live in as their principal residence, as the inheriting child in that case. And we had also explained that even though she had not filed the homeowner's exemption within 1 year of the date of death, she was still able to still file for that since she lived in the property within 1 year. She actually lived with the mother and was a caretaker before her passing and continued to live there. So we explained to the taxpayer why only prospective relief would be available. And we also worked with the assessor's office to expedite the processing of that parent-child exclusion claim. And because there were several years of escape assessments, we had provided information on availability of payment plans and what she could request that under with the tax collector's office. We also provided the taxpayer with a specific revenue and taxation code section that she could provide to the tax collector's office because this is not common. Generally, I think at the tax collector's office, they're used to just receiving requests for payment plans for defaulted taxes. So there is this special law that enables taxpayers to enter into one for escape assessments. So another case that I would like to highlight from this report concerns a base year value transfer for disaster relief provisions. And in this case, a taxpayer's home was destroyed by fire. She wanted to purchase a replacement home, but she wasn't sure where she would be moving. And she was confused because she got conflicting information from 2 different county assessor's offices. She had contacted them, and one county told her that she would need to sell her original house or her original property and purchase a replacement within 3 years. And another county had told her that she would have to purchase a replacement within 2 years. So she contacted our office seeking assistance in determining what information was correct. We explained to her that both counties were correct and that there were numerous base year value transfer options available for those impacted by a disaster. And so we explained the various base year value transfers available under law, Revenue and Taxation Code Section 69.6 for principal residence to a replacement anywhere in the state, which is under Prop 19, which requires 2 years, and the availability of a base year value transfer under a different section, Section 69.3, which actually doesn't require the original property to be sold at all. But the replacement, but if the replacement is in a different county than the original, then that replacement county must have adopted an ordinance accepting such base year value transfers. We also directed her to our agency's publication on an information guide for disaster relief that discusses all of the different relief available for those that were impacted by a disaster. And that is publication 802, Information Guide for Disaster Relief for Damaged or Destroyed Property, which is posted to our agency's website. So these are just some of the examples that we help taxpayers with. Each year they range a great deal. And so my staff does have to have a wide breadth of knowledge and skill set in order to do that. So I'd like to also just highlight a portion of the annual report on the taxpayer service improvement area. And that section has 3 parts: educating the public, ease of access to information, and forms review. The portion on educating the public discusses the TRA role in assisting taxpayers on taxpayer education through the publication of information sheets to help taxpayers understand various property tax laws and to increase their awareness of property tax savings that are available to them. And this information is presented in this report. It identifies the issuance that we the information sheets we issued during this year, as well as information sheets that were updated. And as far as what was issued, there was an information sheet addressing how property is assessed for property tax purposes, 800-10, and an information sheet on property tax savings for nonprofit organizations, that was worked on during this fiscal year, but published shortly after. The one that was published during that fiscal year of the report discussed reporting requirements for the death of a real property owner, that was published in December 2024. Another part of the taxpayer service improvement section is ease of information. And this area discusses availability of a web page on our agency's website that contains information on Proposition 19 that our new communication officer just mentioned. Has a lot of hits. It does. This ease of access to information was also identified in here. And we talked about the additional components to that Proposition 19 webpage, as well as an update to the agency's fact sheet on Proposition 19. Publication 801, our TRA office worked with the previous communications officer, Mr. Peter Kim, on that. The next area on there is forms review. And the area discusses the TRA office's role in periodically reviewing property tax statements and other property tax reporting forms that are prescribed by our agency to determine if forms and instructions promote or discourage taxpayer compliance. So this is done as part of our responsibilities under the Bill of Rights provision, section 5906. And as a result of working with taxpayers, we become aware of the changes that are needed, and we would work with our property tax department to identify those changes needed, and they would, work toward revising those. So this 24-25 report points out the revisions were made to 64 forms, which were adopted by you as our agency's elected board on May 28th, 2025, so thank you. The report highlights changes to 26 of those forms in response to statutory changes from the passage of Assembly Bill 1879, which added section 168.1 to the R&T code to allow the assessor to accept the filing of a form by the use of electronic media. So it is important to note that previously, property tax law only permitted electronic filings of property statements. So form revisions were made to the various types of exemption claim forms and supplemental affidavit forms such that the claimant is aware that the filing must be made by 5 p.m. on February 15th to be deemed timely filed. We believe that these changes that were made to all of the forms during this year accurately reflect property tax law and are clear to taxpayers. And the changes to exemption claim forms were particularly beneficial for nonprofit organizations that may have volunteers that are helping to complete claim form filings. Okay, so I would also like to point out that there is another part within this annual report on issue resolution. And there were 2 items that were identified. One item is work on an agent authorization form that's resulted from comments made at the 2024 Bill of Rights hearing as to a need to have a standard form for use by all counties, and our agency's property tax department is working on such form. Also, at a couple of Bill of Rights hearings, comments were made by taxpayer representative about the length of time that it was taking to issue refunds after an assessment appeals board decision. So board member Vasquez initiated a work group to discuss these concerns. And the county assessor and AAB issues work group has had 2 meetings. Tomorrow will be a 3rd. And so I would like to thank Member Vasquez for having this work group, as well as Gina Rodriguez of Ryan LLC, who primarily brought this issue up first. So I think that we appreciate that Gina Rodriguez brought this to the attention of the TRA office as well as the board, and that this work group was formed to provide a forum, very important forum, to discuss these ideas and get the parties together. The TRA office report is posted on our website. In addition to the Morgan Property Tax Bill of Rights provisions, this annual report provides the basis for the upcoming Taxpayer Bill of Rights hearing, which is historically held in August of each year. And let's see. With respect to the alcoholic beverage tax, Appendix B contains all of the statutory provisions, as well as Appendix 1, which is RA. It has the property taxpayer Bill of Rights provisions. So, let's see. The TRA will confirm the specific date and time of the Taxpayer Bill of Rights hearing with our agency's executive director, Ms. Stowers, and the board chair, Chair Lieber. However, historically, it is held at the August board meeting, and it's the first item on the agenda. So a letter to assessors will be distributed advising assessors, taxpayers, and industry representatives and other interested parties of the hearing an opportunity to provide comments. The TRA will be working with our new communications officer on publicizing the event when the time is appropriate. And at that hearing, they'll be able to opportunity to speak on that. So finally, I would like to take this time to thank my Taxpayer Rights Advocate Office team for all their hard work and helping taxpayers throughout the year. They did a tremendous job in handling so many cases, and I truly appreciate their contributions and very proud of them. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Vasquez.
Thank you for that very elaborate report. I just had one quick question, and you kind of touched on it a couple times in your presentation on Prop 19. We're hearing that, excuse me, that when you acquire the property, it has to be your principal residence, right? And is that for life, or are you able to move out of it after 5-10 years?
So it has to be continued as the principal residence, so you could inherit it. And as long as you're living in that property, then yes, you continue to receive the benefit. But at the time you move out, then you lose the exemption. So the assessor's office maintains the market value information about that. And so yes, it's lost. It's actually specified in statute at the time of the loss, and yes. So it's basically if you move out, then you lose it.
Once you move out, yeah.
Once you move out. You can have another, like if for some reason 2 children inherited the property and only one of them was living in it, there's also a provision where one of the children could move in, and they would then have to file a homeowner's exemption, and they can continue that. But yes, if you only had one person.
As long as one is in there?
Yeah.
Mr. Imran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Always great report. I really like a lot of the graphics in here too. So when we're talking about taxpayer service improvement, I wanted to ask, in BOE's history at the Franchise Tax Board, we have an advisory board. OTA, I just found out, has an advisory board where we bring stakeholders together, business organizations. Does the BOE, have we ever had an advisory board?
Well, the executive director has an advisory council, and so they do have meetings. So, and I participate in those meetings as well. So yes, they do.
Okay. Thank you.
And I know, Member Schaefer, it sounded like you had some questions about the publications when
Yes.
our communications officer was
I'd
up
asked
here,
the
but I
number of
didn't.
copies. I think it was under 100. My concern was that maybe this would be a good tool to send to the legislature, which is 120 people. If it were thinner, and maybe we could send it out to all public libraries, at least one copy. I think it shows something that a lot of people don't know exists.
Okay, well, thank you for that suggestion. I appreciate that.
Hey, I had other comments. I was frankly frightened when I saw that you were going to speak for 40 minutes today on the board meeting estimated time. I did a little research, and the attention span of the human mind is between 2 seconds and 20 minutes or more. And I commend you very much for making a 20-minute presentation, because it's much more effective being shorter and more concise. I question why we have a separate annual report for the Taxpayer Rights Office. If I were running the ship, I would want to explore taking the annual report of the BOE and featuring as part of it the Taxpayers Rights Advocates Report. That would assure you a larger audience for your office, and it'd be more efficient, you know. That's always been one of my songs. I also protest annually and get nowhere on it, but I don't like you incorporating by reference. You don't incorporate by reference. You take 17 pages of the 40-page report, that's almost half of it, to quote revenue and taxation code sections. That's so 1960s or so. Today, with everything online, anybody with a cell phone can instantly go to the revenue and taxation code to discuss something. When I see a case involving women's rights, it will quote Roe v. Wade of the Supreme Court. It will not give us the entire case to read. If we want it, we know where to find it. If I'm looking at a story involving public education and the end of segregation, they'll mention Brown versus Board of Education. They will not print out all the facts of it. Here we come along, instead of saying Revenue and Taxation Code 17,100, we actually verbatim print it out. I think with a signature, you could cut this 40-page report down to, I'd say, 10 pages. And I think it would be much more readable, and we could easily start putting out 500 copies of it, so the legislature gets one, and maybe major libraries in California get one. This is the last time I'm going to talk to you about an annual report, because I'm leaving the BOE at the end of the year, kicking and screaming. But I just want you to know my thoughts. And I'm sorry that you've taken the names off the very 4 pictures. They're very pretty pictures and effective to show that there are 4 members. But I'm only sure of the one here from San Diego because I see it every day. I would like to know where this lifeguard towers with the American flag on it, and I'm a big fan of lighthouses, but I'm not sure whether that's Sally's Lighthouse or maybe it's Vasquez Lighthouse. I don't think Ted has any lighthouses in your district, you know?
No, it's my lighthouse.
So I think you put out a good product. I think it's wrong to recite 17 pages of statute verbatim when you could just incorporate that by reference, and anybody can say, hey, I want to see what that has to say. And I would urge more and more circulation of a combined volume that's both BOE and your report. And you're really the most important contact we have with the general public. You know, a multicolored explanation. It can even be interesting, you know? And I thank you for all you've done, but please, I'm a taxpayer's advocate, and I want to spend a little less and get more productivity, and I think you have the ability to do that. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you. So as to your first comment or question about the agency's annual report and us consolidating our TRA annual report into it, the agency's annual report does identify the number of completed cases that our office does in that fiscal year, so that is part of it. And if a reader wants to read more about the TRA office, then they can come to our annual report, our TRA annual report to do that. The issuance of the TRA annual report is actually mandated by law, so I am required to to give this annual report to the executive director by statute under the Bill of Rights hearing, under the Morgan Taxpayer Bill of Rights hearing, and that code is actually in the appendix if you'd like to read it. But the second, I'll go to your third question first, actually. So the third question is as far as pictures, before addressing your second one. So the picture of the bridge, the first one that's on the top left, that's from District 1. It's a bridge in Sacramento, Tower Bridge. And the lighthouse on the right, the top right, is from District 2. And that is a lighthouse in Pigeon Point in San Mateo County.
Where?
Pigeon Point in San Mateo County, so San Mateo. And then for the bottom left photo, of course, that's from your district, which is the San Diego downtown waterfront. And the lower picture on the right from District 3, and that is a lifeguard station with an American flag in Venice Beach, Los Angeles.
Venice Beach?
Venice Beach, so.
Thank you.
So as to your second comment about the appendix, I do appreciate your comments, of course. And I feel that having the appendixes in there promotes transparency, first of all, and ease of access to taxpayers. Somebody reading our report, public-facing report, that way they are aware of all of the laws that are applicable to the taxpayer to assist them, what their rights are under the Bill of Rights hearing, and also what is in place as of the time of that fiscal year report, because laws can change. It is easier to find the Morgan Property Tax Bill of Rights because it's self-contained. But for the alcoholic beverage tax laws, for the Bill of Rights provisions, those are just a part of the California Bill of Rights. So it's very specific provisions in them. So that is why we include that in there. So it's available to taxpayers at the time of the report. It also saves the taxpayer from having to, search for them. And so, thank you. Any other questions?
Super. Mr. Gaines has a question.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I really like the report. I love the graphs, and I love the fact that they're broken down by district, so thank you for that. And is it relayed somewhere, in all the cases that you deal with, is there a statistic that shows how many Prop 19 cases there are?
Well, ultimately, I mean, not specifically, so they would be under the exclusions from reassessment. At this point, I mean, the majority of the cases that we see from exclusions are all under current law. We might have one or two that could relate to prior parent-child law, just because it happens to be that somebody took 15 years to distribute property from a trust or just now sold it. So, but the majority of those exclusions, those would be all under Proposition 19, either base year value transfer exclusion, parent-child, grandparent-grandchild exclusion, as well as, base year values for seniors or disasters. So, so those really would be all of those.
Okay.
So,
Is there a way to break them out, or would it make sense to break them out? I'm trying to identify how much work we're doing at the BOE as a result of the passage of Prop 19.
Exclusions have, historically, the TRA office has always helped taxpayers with an exclusion of some sort, like a parent-child exclusion. It's just changed,
Okay.
differently now.
Okay.
So,
'Cause I know
so
we've
yeah,
had
those would
additional
be all of
workload.
them, the percentages.
We've had additional workload in terms of payroll, and we've taken on this responsibility with Prop 19, and I think we've done it largely with the existing team. And so I was just trying to segment, if you're looking at workflow from your perspective for your office, how much of that is related to Prop 19 and how much isn't. And maybe that's hard to decipher, because you're going to have some things that would happen naturally that are,
Yeah.
even without Prop 19. I don't know.
Yeah, you would have had it just from parent-child exclusion, law, prior law.
Yeah.
That's the majority of the exclusion concerns that are people are coming to our office with on the
Okay.
parent-child exclusion. Less so on base year value transfers. Some of the base year value transfers, there's always been concerns that we help them with, but for the most part, they're parent-child. I mean, any of the base year value transfers, because the law is such that now you can buy a property of higher value, where before you couldn't. So if the replacement had a lesser value, it wasn't an issue, you're just denied, it wasn't
Yeah.
qualified. Now you
Okay.
can have the ability to transfer base year anywhere in the state, higher up, you just have to do that. So we do still have taxpayers that contact our office with problems with base year value transfers, such as like they bought a $2 million house and their house was 1.2 million. So they've got to pay that difference at excess in market value on top of their transferred factored base year value. So some people may not understand that. The other component would be maybe not being able to meet the 2-year deadline to purchase or newly construct a replacement property. So the majority would be,
Okay.
exclusions. Could you,
Sure.
I mean, it could be looked at, if you wanted to break down that further. But it's all Prop 19 at this point.
Yeah.
All the exclusions
Yeah,
would be
okay.
that.
Very good. Well, thank you for this, and I love the examples too, so thanks for,
I'm glad you like it.
providing
I'm
those.
glad you like the percentage. This is the second year we've had this.
yeah, that's good.
So, yeah.
And this is all available online too, on our
It's-
website?
Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
posted. It's posted on the publications page as well as through our TRA office page
Good.
where we have historical annual reports.
Excellent. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Great, well, thank you, Ms. Thompson, and I very much appreciate this report. I'm also into the kind of sample cases that are there, and it is a good one to email out to your constituents, and maybe if they're emailing just about a general tax question, include a link to it, because they may well be interested. And of course, District 2 is very unquiet and has a predilection for the rev and tax codes and as much information as is humanly possible. So we thank you for that.
Thank you
Thanks
so
so
much.
much. Great. Now we have come to the time of our afternoon break. And so it is 2:01. So we will take a 10-minute break and come back at 2:11.
Hey, ask a question? Could we blast through these last two? Or do we have an issue with a break for staff? Or any member of the board, maybe you need a break? I'm just posing the question.
Yeah, I think we might be able to use a break just so that
Okay.
we stay congruent with our
Okay,
rules and
that's fine.
all that good stuff. But maybe we can shorten it up to 5 minutes if that's
Sure. All right.
sufficient. That sounds good. next item is up now. This is item 17, Property Tax Deputy Director's Report. Mr. Young will provide the report.
Good afternoon, Chair Lieber, honorable members of the board. For the record, my name is David Young. For you today, I have 4 reports. The first 2 will be by Ms. Carolyn Stemmons. She will give you an update as to the LTAs that we have published since we last met and our training and certification program. Following her will be Ms. Holly Cooper. She will give you the quarterly report on our survey program. And lastly, but at least not, definitely not least, Mr. Jack McCool will follow it up with what's going on in the State Assessed Properties Division. They're very, very busy now. It's the beginning of their valuation season. So if you're ready, I will have Carolyn come on up and do the first 2.
Please.
Good afternoon, Chair Lieber and honorable board members. I'm Carolyn Steeman. I'm a principal property appraiser with the County Assessed Property Division. Today, I will be doing a very brief report on letters to assessors. Attached to this month's agenda is a memo on letters to assessors, which provides a list of the LTAs issued since the report at the last board meeting, and a link to the BOE's website where a list of all LTAs issued to date can be found. As of the date of the attached memo, the agency has issued a total of 5 LTAs for calendar year 2026 and 2 since the report at the last board meeting. Those LTAs are summarized in order as follows: an LTA to issue property tax forms list, and an LTA to announce a project to update Assessor's Handbook Section 516 Assessment to Cemeteries. This concludes my report on letters to assessors. I'm available if you have any questions.
Okay, members, any questions on the LTAs? Seeing none, thank you.
Moving right along, I will provide a brief report on the BOE's appraisal training and certification program. For the 25-26 fiscal year, the BOE staff scheduled 40 classes and 2 webinars. Additionally, 7 classes were scheduled with instructors in county assessors' offices for their staff. Of the courses taught by the BOE, 28 have been completed since the beginning of the fiscal year, which include 3 since the last board meeting. In addition, both webinars have been completed. For courses taught by the counties, 6 have been completed since the beginning of the fiscal year. We continue to offer existing online basic training courses through American River College and California State University, Sacramento, as well as additional online courses and self-study training sessions available on the BOE's website. This concludes my report on training and certification, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions on the appraisal and certification training?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Now we'll hear from Holly Cooper.
All right, good afternoon, Chair Lieber and honorable members of the board. Holly Cooper, Chief of the Assessment Practices Survey Division. Today, I will be presenting an overview of the final survey reports published during the 4th quarter of 2025. However, before I get started, I would like to provide a brief background on the programs administered by the Assessment Practices Survey Division. In terms of current auditing practices, what we refer to at BOE as an assessment practice survey is actually an audit of the county assessors to determine whether property value assessments follow property tax law. The auditors and appraisers in the Assessment Practices Survey Division perform qualitative compliance audits of the assessor's practices and procedures and perform quantitative audits through the use of defensible statistical sampling of representative assessments from the property tax rolls. During the 4th quarter of 2025, the division issued 3 audit reports via letters to assessors in San Diego, Glenn, and San Mateo counties. Starting with San Diego, we conducted a complete audit, which includes both an audit survey of administrative, real property, and business property procedures and practices, and a statistical sampling for roll year 2023-24. In the areas of administration and real property, no recommendations were made. In the area of personal property and fixtures, we made the following 2 recommendations. Perform the minimum number of audits of professions, trades, and businesses pursuant to Section 469. Consistently apply a penalty assessment to all business property accounts that file late or fail to file a business property statement in accordance with Section 463. In addition to these recommendations, the published audit report reflects the BOE's audit sample findings. San Diego had an average assessment ratio of 99.51%, and the sum of absolute differences measuring disparity among assessments was 0.53%. In Glenn County, we conducted a statistical sampling for roll year 2023-24 and found deficiencies in the assessor's discovery of escaped new construction and declines in value assessments. Lastly, in San Mateo County, we conducted a complete audit, which includes both an audit survey and a statistical sampling for roll year 2023-24. In the area of administration, no recommendations were made. In the area of real property, we made the following 4 recommendations. Reappraise all property exceeding the 1 million exclusion provided in Section 63.1. Grant new construction exclusions for claims for disabled access improvements only upon compliance with Section 74.6. Include the value of excluded new construction in the full cash value estimate of decline in value property. Improve the mineral property program by properly classifying processing equipment of mineral property and measuring decline in value for mineral properties using the entire appraisal unit as required by Rule 469. In the area of personal property and fixtures, we made 1 recommendation. Apply the mobile agricultural equipment percent good factors prescribed in Table 6 of Assessor Handbook Section 581 as intended. In addition to these recommendations, the published audit report reflects the BOE's audit sample findings. San Mateo had an average assessment ratio of 100.13 and an absolute sum of differences of 0.28%. This concludes my quarterly report on the Assessment Practices Audit Survey Program, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Cooper? Mr. Gaines?
Can you tell me in terms of what's happening with Glenn County? Are there remedies in place?
As far as from the county assessor remedies, I believe they provided a response to the statistical sampling that's included in the publication with their plans to resolve the issues that we found.
Okay, very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, seeing no others, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you. And last up is Mr. Jack McCool.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Lieber and honorable members. My name is Jack McCool, Chief of the State Assessed Properties Division. Today, I will provide information on the status of ongoing work in our division. Staff are continuing to prepare for the upcoming appraisal season. Our annual replacement cost new and condition percent good factors have been completed and have been published to the agency's open data portal. We're also focusing a lot of attention on the annual capitalization rate study, which we anticipate completing in mid-March. Our real property appraisers are also working on completing their land valuation assignments leading up to the unitary valuation season. There are close to 40,000 state-assessed land parcels, and our team of real property appraisers travel throughout California collecting market sales data as part of the land valuation process, which is incorporated in the annual unitary valuations. Finally, we are already starting to receive some of the annual state assessed property statements, which are due on March 1st, and staff are busy working on those. We've also received and processed approximately 100 requests for extension of time to file for the property statements. Those extension requests must be filed prior to March 1st, so we anticipate processing significant amount of those requests for the remainder of this week. And that concludes my report on the status of ongoing work in our division for this month, and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions or comments for Mr. McCool? Okay, seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Mr. Young, did you wish to close, or you're good how it is? Okay, thank you so much to your whole department for for presenting to us. Thank you. And we'll go on to item 18, Special Taxes Quarterly Report, presented by Ms. Williams.
Okay. Good afternoon, Chair Lieber and honorable members of the board. My name is Laurel Williams. I'm the BOE's technical advisor for the special tax programs, which include alcoholic beverage tax and the tax and insurers program. For my quarterly report, I will start with the tax and insurers program. The number of accounts has seen a slight increase since my last report, currently at 2,837 accounts. According to the February 2026 Department of Finance Bulletin, revenues for this program for fiscal year 25-26 are at $2.19 billion, which is approximately 0.08% above the forecasted amount. The program remains highly compliant. Our next program is the alcoholic beverage tax program. There are currently 10,640 alcohol accounts, which is a slight decrease from last fall. However, we generally see a decrease at the end of the year, just as people get reminders for their filing, because most of them file yearly. They're like, oh, I got the reminder for the filing. I am no longer inactive in business, so I'm going to close out the account. According to the February 2026 Department of Finance Bulletin, the revenues for this program for 25-26 are at just over $263 million, which is approximately 1.2% above the forecasted amount. The opt-in, opt-out rate for our wine grower returns has remained consistent since my last report at approximately 65% of the wine growers opting out of public disclosure, and additional companies have opted out of the beer industry public disclosure, bringing its opt-out rate to just over 60% for the last filings. This program remains highly compliant as well. I would also like to take a moment to discuss recent headlines about breweries and wineries closing in California. While our tax revenues have been consistent with forecasts for these, the consumption of alcoholic beverages has decreased since its peak during the height of COVID. In particular, beer and wine have seen a larger decrease than distilled spirits. The market for distilled ready-to-drink, mainly prepackaged cocktails, has actually increased in recent years. These ready-to-drink products are also competing for shelf space in the refrigerated section of grocery stores, or retail stores in general, I should say. In addition, the hospitality industry, which is a large consumer of alcoholic products, has also noted a decline, which in turn impacts the alcohol industry. In discussion with my colleagues in other states, these seem to be nationwide trends, and they're not specific to California or the California market. So with that concludes my report, unless there are any questions.
Great. Let's see, any questions? Mr. Vasquez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Williams, for the report. You mentioned there was an increase in the projections. In terms of dollars, what does that amount to? Do we know?
Yes, so the alcohol program is 1.2% above the forecasted amount, which is $3 million. And the 0.8% for the insurance program is approximately $17 million.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Schaefer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm interested in the alcoholic beverage part of our business. I don't drink alcohol, but I used to. I drink non-alcoholic beer. So if I buy a drink at a bar and it's non-alcoholic bar, that bar's not paying any bottle tax, right?
So for the alcoholic beverage tax, it's paid at the manufacturer distributor level. So for instance, even if it was an alcoholic beverage, like call it a Coors Light, that you bought, the bar itself would not be paying it. It's paid per gallon when it's distributed. We do, through regulation, and have a minimum alcohol content to be, to have to pay those taxes. And also through regulation, alcohol such as rubbing alcohol or used for industrial purposes is also not taxed.
I see. Tell me, has the tax rate been pretty steady over the last 10, 20 years, or has it gone up or gone down? I would expect that inflation would sort of take care of that on all bills, but there tends to be an increase when you want to discourage drinking and a decrease if you want to encourage drinking.
So the tax rate on all of the alcoholic beverage products has been consistent for the last several years. It is something that can be changed legislatively or by the people through a referendum.
When you say last several years, you mean the last several decades or years?
I believe it's been over 20 years that it's been the same rate.
I see. Okay, and I've been here almost 8 years, 7 years, and I've never seen an AB item come before us. Is that everybody has made peace with whatever their tax bill is?
Alcohol is very regulated. We have federal regulations, local regulations, also ABC. So as a result, it is, most of the tax filings are consistent, and also there's sharing that can happen between the feds and us to kind of reconcile reporting, so to speak, and audits. We do have an audit program for alcohol as well. So there's many levels of encouraging compliance. In addition, when there is a discrepancy, there's a lot of, we try to resolve it at the lowest possible level. Sometimes it's an audit of just needing to get additional information from the taxpayer or going through that process.
Thank you very much.
Other questions? Mr. Gaines?
One that came up based on what Mike was asking, what is the minimum alcohol content to qualify for tax?
I'd have to look that specifically up. I do know that, for instance, things like hard kombuchas that have a very insignificant amount that are just from fermentation, some of those are taxed, and then some just have a very negligible amount. Okay. It's in our regulation, but I can look that up and send that to you and
it'd be good. Yeah, if you don't mind, it'd be great to know. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, if I think it's somewhere, it's very low, like, yeah.
Under 1%, something like that.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up. It's an alcohol by an ABV for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
It's interesting you bring that up. So when they cook, when they use it in food, when they're making food, like I'm thinking, you know, some of the fish or even, what is it, the fish and chip, they always brag about it's dipped in beer batter, you know? I'm assuming it's very minimal, right? So it doesn't qualify?
Well, I think if they use like an actual beer to make that, then the beer would be, they're
Taxed.
buying the beer and it would have been distributed and taxed at the per gallon rate.
Oh, wow, it's interesting. I didn't know.
Okay, well, thank you so much for letting us know about all this information. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank
You're welcome.
you. And so now is the time for us to take some public comment on items 11 through 19. And we have no speaker cards. We have not received any written comments, so we'll go to the AT&T moderator. Moderator, if you could please let us know if there's anyone who would like to comment on items 11 through 19, please.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen on the phone lines, if you wish to ask a question or make a comment, please press 1 followed by 0 at this time. 1 followed by 0. And nobody is queuing up.
Thank you.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Schaefer.
Is this something new where we're giving them, bunching 8 items together instead of each item stopping in and talking to the operator? If that's progress, I want to thank you for it.
No, actually, it's not progress. We always take all of the executive director's reports together, so sadly, it isn't progress, but I do think you have impacted the dialogue, most certainly.
Thank you.
So we appreciate that. Thank you. And so we will go on now to any closing comments and our adjournment. Mr. Vasquez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to mention several folks. I'd like to adjourn this meeting in memory of 4 Americans who made tremendous contributions through their respective careers. First, we touched a little bit about Reverend Josie Jackson, a towering figure in American civil rights, politics, international diplomacy, who died in Chicago at his home on February the 17th, 2026, after a battle with a rare neurological condition. He was 84 years old. Jackson championed the poor and minorities organizing for economic justice through Operations Breadbasket and Push, as well as the Rainbow Coalition. I had the opportunity to meet him back when he first ran for president in '84, when I was a student, an activist student at Santa Monica College, and got real involved with the Rainbow Coalition when he was running for president. I never had the opportunity to meet Martin Luther King, but to me, he was unbelievable, just the energy and the charisma this man had. And I think as a result of his campaign, well, he ran twice, I think kind of set the groundwork for Barack Obama to eventually become our first African-American president. And he was also a very diplomatic individual that I believe he helped, I think it was back in '83 when they freed some of those U.S. pilots. I guess it was in Syria in 1983. I think it was 48 foreign nationals that were held in Cuba in 1984. And then, of course, he was recognized by our former president, Bill Clinton, with the Presidential Medal of Freedom in the year 2000. And then we lost some very talented actors just recently. Robert Duvall, iconic actor, producer, director. I didn't realize he was 95 years old. And he was still working pretty much up until his death. We lost him in Middleburg, Virginia on February the 15th, 2026. Duvall was established himself through unforgettable performances, including, of course, the most famous one, I think, is Godfather. And then, of course, Apocalypse Now. And then I guess he had several other films, but I guess the one that he actually got recognized with in 1983 as an Academy Award, Best Actor as the country singer in Tender Mercies, and received 6 other Oscar nominations, including Godfather, Apocalypse Now, The Great Santini, a civil action, The Judge, and The Apostle. His television work equally distinguished, winning the Emmy for iconic Mysteries alongside Longsome Dove, I guess it was. And above and beyond, like I said, a lot of his performances, he also was involved with a lot of roles as a writer, director, and producer. And then in the industry, in the movie, well, actually, I don't know if he ever played, I think he did do some movies, but mostly in the entertainment world, we lost an icon, Willie Colon, one of the pioneers in salsa, musicians, composer, producer of Fonnie and the All-Stars back in New York. He had several productions, but probably most famously known for producing and performing with Ruben Blades, who still lives today. Very strong connection with the Latino community. And then who was the last? Oh, I think this happened just yesterday, the day before. Another good actor, Robert Carradine, he just lost him on Monday, February the 23rd, following apparently 2 decades of long battle with bipolar disorder. He was 71 years old. He was the youngest son of the late American actor John Carradine and the brother of actors David and Keith Carradine and Christopher Carradine, former Walt Disney Imaginary executive. Carradine made his film debut in The Cowboys and appeared in Mean Streets before forgoing a decades-long film of television and career in Hollywood. And with that, I'll turn it back to the chair.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Mr. Schaefer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Today is a very significant Black History Day because on February 25th in 1870, which is 156 years ago, 5 years after the murder of Abraham Lincoln in 1865, in 1870, the nation was still mourning, and they elected and swore in the first Black member of the U.S. Congress, House or Senate. His name, he was a Republican. His name was Hiram Revels of Mississippi, and he was sworn in on this day 156 years ago as the first Afro-American member of either the House or the Senate. And I think that was the mourning of the nation over the death of President Lincoln. I also wanted to commend President Trump last night for focusing on the Medal of Honor being awarded to one of my constituents in Escondido. Royce Williams received the Medal of Honor from the president last night. It's a Congressional Medal of Honor, and I was glad to see that featured. And then the president also mentioned Buddy Hackett, who's a famous comedian. I met Buddy, and I am good friends with his son, Sandy Hackett. Buddy Hackett is not only be 100 years of age, but he's a war hero. He was an airplane hero in the battle in the Philippines, saved the lives of many of our people, and he was honored last night. And I think that is very good for the nation. I think the speech was far too long and far too painful, but I just think it's good that we can take note of some of the better parts of it. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we are ready to adjourn the board meeting, and I will note that tomorrow is our board work group meeting. The 2025 County Assessor and Assessment Appeals Board Issues Work Group will be beginning at 10 a.m. right here. And our next scheduled board meeting is Wednesday, March 25th, 2026 at 10 a.m. here at the Maley State Office Complex in San Francisco. And without objection, why did I say San Francisco? I've got San Francisco on my mind. But it was a good time. It was a good time. What can I say? I got to be in a big city. So thank you. But no, the Maley Office Complex is in Sacramento. Although I left my heart in San Francisco, clearly. So we will stand adjourned at 2:40 p.m.